We'll see if it was at the same time in post. Hello, everybody. My name is Alexandra with This is Improv, and I am your host for another episode of Tacobout It Tuesday, where we talk about all things the arts and the people who love them. I am here with the amazing, the beautiful, the glorious Kimberly.
Hi.
Hello. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Wow. Okay, that could take a long time. How much time do we have?
We've got as much as you need.
No. Okay. Well, gosh. Wow. So I've been in the industry for a very long time, since 1990, and I was actually lured into performing, drawn by the appeal of Latin and ballroom dancing. So you would think that I would love Dancing with the Stars. I actually don't. I do love, however, that it brings Latin and ballroom dancing into the living rooms of all the households in the nation that like to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
It is amazing. Latin and ballroom was dancing. That's where I got my start. And then from there, I was teaching dance. I was living in Fort Myers. No longer wanted to just teach dance. I wanted to just dance. That's all I wanted to do. So in 98, I moved to Miami area, auditioned for everyone that I could possibly get in front of. And this was back in the day when auditions were listed in the newspaper. So I'm dating myself here, but we didn't have Craigslist. You had to literally go into the newspaper and start looking for auditions and actually calling people on the phone and trying to set up auditions. And I did that, and I was able to, get some tentative gig work. So I made the move. I just packed everything up, whatever I could fit in my car, came to Miami, and have one of the best things I've ever done, and not a single regret at all. It was amazing, and it's been an amazing experience. I considered checking out Vegas, New York, LA, but Miami had my heart. It's just, I loved Miami. I loved the life. And I liked that it wasn't so overwhelming that I could actually be noticed, because I kind of felt like if I would have gone to New York or Vegas, I would have gotten lost in the mix, or LA. So I chose to stay here, and I'm glad I did. I wouldn't have changed a thing. And I performed. I had my own entertainment company for quite some time, so it was everything to me. Dancing was my thing. I took voice lessons. Dancing was my thing. Trust me. Yeah. No, I wanted to sing. That definitely was not meant for me, but I tried. So, and quickly realized that was not going to be my calling, but dance most definitely was. And I was eating, sleeping, and drinking dance. That's all I cared about. Dance, costume shows, that's all I cared about. And had my own company for quite a while. And then, getting into the business side of it kind of dulled me down a little bit, or muted my love for it a little bit. Getting into the part where you actually have to run everything, because you get so caught up in the day-to-day business that it can become overwhelming, and it can kind of crush your passion a little bit, or at least that was my experience.
Right.
Was happy to sell the business after it had run the course that I wanted it to take. And then I began to segue into something else, into the fitness, health and holistics, health and wellness, kind of segueing into that. And that was amazing. So it's been great. It's been quite the journey.
Yeah. So when I first saw Kimberly, she was in full on light costume. I mean, LED lights everywhere. And I looked at my mom and I go, who is that? Because I was like in such awe of this magical creature in front of me.
Yeah, that was definitely a great time. At that point in time, I was married. My husband and I owned a company. We were one of the first companies in South Florida to start doing the LED costume light shows. Yeah. That was not our original idea. But imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. So when we began to see someone else do it, it was so amazing. And so my husband at the time was really, really brilliant when it came to technology and making things work. So we began to design costumes that were unlike anything any other company had. The LED concept was not ours, but the costumes we created were all originals, and those concepts were ours. And then the performing in them and the way that we did the shows, so we just took it to the next level. Mm-hmm. So the LED light shows were one of my favorites. Absolutely, we did that for many years. It was great. Both, it was great when the costumes worked. It was heartbreaking when they didn't.
Right.
But
gotta love technology.
For sure. It's either your best night or it's your best night to shine at your worst.
Right.
But it was a great experience.
Yeah. When I say some of the things that Kimberly has done are like magical. I mean, they make you feel like you're in a different world. So that was amazing. Yeah. I mean, you're just such an amazing performer. And when did you start dancing? Was it in the 90s that you started?
Yeah, in 1990, dancing professionally. I mean, as a child, I always wanted to dance, and my mother graciously put me in ballet and tap and jazz, which I absolutely hated all of the above. I did not like any of it, but I still knew that I wanted to move. I just knew that I didn't want to do any of that. And in 1990, I came across, funnily enough, I came across an ad for Arthur Murray Dance Studios looking for dance teachers. We will train you. And I was thinking, well, I wasn't really about tap, jazz, and ballet, but let's try this. And immediately fell in love with it, and was hooked from that point on, completely hooked.
That's awesome. So you incorporated a lot of your dance training into your entertainment company.
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah, 1,000%. Mm-hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but did you do fire as well?
Oh, yes. Yes, fire was one of my specialties, as well as LED. But I was doing fire long before I was doing LED. I loved fire dancing. Loved it.
Awesome. So what was it about fire dancing that just like put you in that Zen mood kind of thing, you know?
Well, okay. So I have to say that I discovered that firelight is the most attractive lighting. So
yeah,
so we all look really nice by firelight. And we were doing a show, just a dance show, and it was for one of the hotels in South Beach. And they had us, there must have been at least a dozen performers all doing different things. And two of the girls, and I think there was a boy, they were doing fire dancing. If I recall, that was when I first like got the itch to try it. And it was they had a little tribal theme going on, and I was also doing tribal belly dance at the time. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And they just seem so powerful, like to be harnessing this magical essence of fire. And of course, again, we all look beautiful by candlelight, and they looked amazing. And I was like, wow, this is something I want to try. So at the time I was married, my now ex-husband, but my then husband, knew enough about fire dancing to get me started. So he knew enough to, teach me a few little things. And then once I kind of got moving, I was self-taught from there on out. So YouTube videos, tutorials, anything that I could get my hands on where I could learn the proper techniques of working with fire, dancing with fire, using fire safely so that things aren't getting caught on fire that shouldn't be on fire. Right. And from that point, it was I every single day, I was setting aside time for my practice every single day. And then, it's beginning to book shows. And, the more I did, the stronger I got. Of course, practice makes you closer to perfect than you would be if you weren't practicing. And I loved it. It was great. It was amazing. I'm really glad that I was exposed to that and took that journey. It was amazing.
That's awesome. That's something I want to touch upon. You are an expert in a lot of fields of dance and performance. You've trained for that. So in terms of training, what would you say is something that helped you along the way, like to keep persistent with your practice?
Passion. You just have to want it. You have to want it more than you want anything else. And it has to be more important to you than spending time with your friends, or more important than going to the beach, or more important than, whatever else, whatever rec other people would want to do. It has to be something that you feel in your heart. It has to move you. And it can't be something that is, it can't be something that you try to force. Like if you see someone do it and you want to do it because they look cool and you want to look cool, you're probably not going to stay with it, because it's not easy. It's not an easy thing. It's difficult. It is literally blood, sweat, and tears. Literally. I burned myself a lot in the first few shows, anywhere from 1st to 3rd degree burns. I mean, I literally blood, sweat, and tears. But you have to want it badly or strongly or passionately enough to stay with it. And it has to light your soul. So when you are performing, you need to feel inside you in order to portray that to the people watching you. Mm-hmm. So if you are just trying to put on a show and mirror what you think it's supposed to look like, but you don't feel that power and that love and that joy inside you, it won't radiate out the same. You might look pretty, or you might look handsome, or it might be nice to look at, but you're not going to bring people in. You're not going to hold their attention. And that's how you really draw people in. So much like an amazing actor or actress or an amazing singer would do, where people just don't want to look away from you. that comes more from your own passion radiating out of you. And that is something that you have to feel. So if you feel that, you're going to be driven to do it. So you need to be driven if you really want to experience not the upper level, like, oh, I was the best performer ever, but that the upper level of the feeling of it. And that is when you're hooked. That's when you're in it. You know, when you get that feel, it's a high, but it's just like you are in the universe. And sometimes you're so into what you're doing that you just bring the whole audience and the whole room along with you, and you take them with you on that journey, and you see it in their eyes. And that's part of the hook as well.
100%. Yeah. It's so true. It's kind of like if someone walks in the room, you like have to look at them because the energy they bring into the room kind of thing. It's so igniting to like watch someone who's truly enjoying and like truly lost in what they're doing, to go up and perform and just see this like magic happen in front of you. 100%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can have someone that they may be the best, and I've actually seen this, by the way, in shows that I've done. You know, I was watching a show and there were some dancers, and one of them was in terms of technique, she was flawless. I mean, beautiful, long extensions, beautiful, perfect body, perfect technique. But there wasn't that rawness in the heart space that was you know, coming out. Mm-hmm. And then I would see other dancers in the same show that were not as technically precise, or maybe quite as technically talented, but they had the passion, and the emotion, and them I could not look away from. So I could admire her talent and her precision and her technique, and that's wonderful. But when you see someone that they're just feeling so much, their technique may not be as strong, but you can't look away from them. And that's who you want to watch. That's who you want to, that's the person you want to go on their journey with them, because you know it's going to be a ride. So it's not always all about the talent and the technique. That helps. That's great. But developing who we are as individuals, and then being able to express that, to shine that light out, is what is going to draw people in.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I kind of feel like it goes back to like even watching kids dance. Like if you watch kids dance, you can tell which ones are like really into it and which ones are not. And technically, you know, they're not there yet because they're little tiny tots, but you can't look away from the ones that are like full on into it and having the face and like all the power in their moves. And that's
exactly. It's the same.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions about tacos now.
Okay, bring it on, because I really love tacos.
Oh, awesome. Okay. All right. So now it is time for a round of talk about choices. So hard shell or soft shell?
Hard shell.
Meat, veggie, or fish?
Meat.
Ooh, like barbacoa, chicken, ground beef?
Okay, so normally I get chicken, but I must tell you, so I was on vacation once in North Carolina, and we were just traveling with some friends, and we happened to come across this. So the one person we were with actually had a cabin in North Carolina and knew the area. The rest of us were on vacation. So we're traveling along, and then he says, oh, this food truck is really good. So we pull over to eat. Okay, taco food truck, yes. And they had brisket. So now brisket to me is either delicious or horrible, because it can't be super fatty, but it has to have a lot of flavor. Let me tell you, the best taco I've ever had in my life was from that food truck in Canton, North Carolina, on the side of a road outside of a sporting goods store. That was a brisket taco. Oh my gosh, you have not lived until you have had that brisket taco. I tell you, I would drive back to North Carolina just for that taco and then drive back home again. That's how good it was. I kid you not.
Oh my gosh. Now I want to go to North Carolina.
And look at that food truck, because it's worth the trip.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. Okay. Focus.
I
know. Okay. So let's talk about toppings. Would you prefer lettuce or corn?
Yes.
Nice. What would you like, spicy, bland, or mild?
Mild. I don't care for spicy food, but I also don't care for bland. So I like me a little bit of flavor, but if my throat's burning and I can't even taste my food, that's too spicy for me. So I like that warm, mild flavor.
Like a little bit to it. Nice.
Yeah.
And would you do sour cream or guacamole?
Sour cream. I'm not a huge guacamole fan. I can eat it if it's chopped up and disguised in a Cobb salad. But to me, avocado tastes like rotten eggs. I don't know why. I would love to love it because it's very good for you. I
Yeah.
want to love it, but it's like yogurt. I literally can't love it. I can't eat it. So I can eat it if it's disguised behind a bunch of other flavors. But the only way that I would not is because it's also very squishy and very texture oriented. And it's very like almost kind of slimy and it's green. So we got a lot going on there. So I'm gonna stick with sour cream.
You know, you describe it as rotten egg, and it is egg shaped. So I understand where you're coming from with
Yes, it's true.
and this last question might be a little bit blasphemous, but do you prefer taco or burrito?
Ooh, taco. I do.
Taco.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Committed. Good.
I do. Yeah, straight out. I do for sure.
Nice. Well, thank you for answering my taco question.
Always. I'm always in the mood of talking about tacos.
Awesome. Now I want to ask you, if I didn't know you, if I just like saw you walking down the street, what's something that I cannot tell just by looking at you?
Um, let's see. Ooh, well, I don't know. That might not be true. I was going to say you probably couldn't tell that I used to be in the circus. However, I do have tattoos. So some people equate tattoos and circus. Although I really don't know why, because when I was in the circus, I was not permitted to have tattoos.
Yeah.
We had a family show. You weren't allowed to have tattoos. Now I think it's a little bit more accepted. But I would probably guess that if you saw me walking down the street, you probably would not automatically assume, I bet that girl has been in a circus for many years. So I would say that.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah, because I didn't know you were in the circus either. So that's awesome. So I want to also ask, so you transitioned from doing, entertainment to shifting into and progressing into health and fitness.
Correct.
So, how has your, arts career flowed into your health? Now, I've taken a class or two with you, so I know, but so how do you feel like
it's a couple of my classes?
Yeah. So how do you feel that it's helped you flow into that part of your life?
Oh my gosh, it has enhanced it exponentially. I think just from being in the arts for so long, it makes public speaking very easy. Because it does. I was a dancer. Although to be fair, when I was in the circus, I did announce the show on several occasions. So I technically did fill in for our ring mistress when she was absent. So I did learn announcing while I was in the show. So I had to announce the show. So I did learn public speaking the hard way. But definitely 1,000%, it taught me to think quick on my feet. Improv, as you well know, we need to be able to quickly flip the script. You have to just kind of fly by the seat of your pants. So you might have something planned out and one little thing can just flip it, and what you had planned out is no longer going to work, and you cannot let them see you sweat. You need to quickly adjust. You need to act as if that was your plan the whole time. And this is all part of the plan, and no one knew that this was I needed to be able to change this, but I did. And you need to be able to fill space. So if something happens with your equipment, your music isn't working, your mic isn't working, your program isn't working, something goes on, you need to be able to keep their attention and you need to not be stutter, keep it moving, act like it was on purpose. You also need to be able to make people comfortable to approach you. So if I'm training someone and someone sees what we're doing, I need to look approachable. I need to seem friendly and personable, where they're going to come up and say, hey, I've been watching you train this person, and I'm just wondering what you guys are doing. So, you want to set yourself up in such a way where someone doesn't feel intimidated by coming up to you, but at the same time still drawn to you. And there's a fine line there, because sometimes we can overplay the part, and then people are actually kind of either intimidated or put off, or they're like, oh, I don't want to come up to that person because they're so larger than life. They're not going to want to talk to me or whatever. So you're going to have to ride that fine line between being relatively magnetic and at the same time approachable, and being able to think quickly on your feet, being well spoken, being comfortable looking someone in the eyes. So I've noticed that a lot of trainers look around in a way they're not comfortable with eye contact, but as performers, you and I know that is the best way to pull your audience in, is by looking them in the eye, making eye contact, but not so much so that you make them uncomfortable.
Right.
So there's a lot of little nuances that you pick up from the arts that will serve you no matter what you go into next. It doesn't matter if it's business, finance, if it's fitness, it doesn't matter. It's going to serve you when you move on, if you move on into something else. All these little nuances, but they enhance you as a sentient being, no matter where you're going next. And it's only going to make you stand out from the crowd.
100%. Yeah. 100%. It's definitely about having that, especially because I did a lot of the announcements when we were performing at the bar, that it was a crowded bar full of loud people and we did not have microphones. So my voice had to carry.
Yes.
So like that shock of like, oh my gosh, there's a crazy lady screaming on a stage right now. And also like, hi friends, it's so nice to meet you all. This is me. We are now in the same space and we're going to both have fun here. And then afterwards, people would come up to us and tell us stories about their life and like, oh yeah, I took this one theater class, or you guys really remind me of this one time. Oh, my cousin's name is Jerry, you know, and we love that. We love hearing that. And we love like making that connection with you. And then they come back and they want to come back and they want to see you again. So 100%.
Exactly. So you have to know how to put on that show on the stage, but then also people want to come talk to you afterwards, as opposed to them going, well, that was cool. That was an awesome show, but let's go now because we don't want to bother them.
Yeah.
You know, like they don't want to talk to us. The show's done. But you know, it is that interaction when the show's over and people come up to you. That actually is the greatest compliment, because you touch them so much that they want to come talk to you.
Yeah. We've had dinner with some of our guests that have come to the show before, that they're like, do you want to sit? Do you want to like have a drink or like come have dinner here? And we're like, okay, sure. We'll just have a chat. So it's amazing. I want to ask, so with what was your role in the circus other than the mistress of ceremonies?
So in the circus, I was hired, I was hired as a showgirl. Okay. So all of the showgirls, for the most part, did the same thing. So we all danced at the beginning like Vegas style. So we had the big hats and capes and the big feathers. And so, you know, we did a jazz number to open the show. And then I was also trained to ride the elephants. So I ended up riding the lead elephant, not because I was so glorious, but because that's where they put me on her. Yeah. And and I have to say, one of the most amazing experiences in my entire life was having the extreme pleasure and privilege of working with elephants. I know that a lot of circuses get a bad rap, and there's a lot of talk about animals in the circus, and I cannot speak for every circus, but I can most certainly speak for my circus, that the elephants and all the animals were 100% a part of the family, just like all the cast members and just like the actual family who owned and ran the circus. Those animals had no better treatment. They could not have been treated any better anywhere in the world. They were literally a part of the family. And let me tell you, to be able to be right next to an elephant or such a glorious animal, and to see how smart they are. They love to interact with us. So they are sentient beings themselves, and they love to interact. Literally, they love that. So I think that sometimes there's a fine line between pushing them away and saying, no, they're to be revered and respected. And yes, they are. But then we lose that connection with them. And then our children growing up never learn to experience that love for another creature, and beyond maybe a cat or a dog. But, you know, they get to see something like an elephant that's a 4-ton, amazingly beautiful creature that communicates. Yeah. You know, they communicate with you. Yeah. And so anyway, I began to then do the jazz number with the show, and then I rode the elephants. We all had to learn an aerial act called the Spanish Web. So we all did an aerial ballet. So that was the most physically and mentally difficult thing I've ever done in my life. And it made me strong as a rock. It broke me down physically and mentally, 100% broke me down. and rebuilt me as a much stronger version of myself. So learning the aerial act was also amazing. And then I went on to present the magic act as well. So by the time it was all said and done, and I had been in the show for, I think, around 5 or 6 years, I was doing dancing, ring mistress as a substitute. I would fill in when needed. I was presenting the magic act, and we were doing the aerial ballet. So I was very busy during the show. But I will tell you, it made me a very, very mentally and physically strong person. Very much stronger than when I came in. I left much stronger because directly of that show and the training.
Well, yeah, you had a lot of, yeah, you wore a lot of hats for that show.
Yes,
So
correct.
I think that 100%, we always recommend that if you love something that you're doing, get involved in every aspect of it.
Yes.
So when we were in college, our professor says, do the technical work, build the sets, paint the sets, do the directing, do the acting, do all of it. So you
Yes.
understand all the moving parts. And it's true. It toughens you up. You understand exactly what has to happen. And you find this like new love for it all over again, because there's so
Exactly.
much to it.
And I'll even circle back around to the question that you asked me before when you said, if somebody saw me walking down the street, what is something they would never guess about me? Now I can answer your question more fully. You would never guess that I've shoveled more than my fair share of elephant poop. That's what you would never guess. You would never guess this girl has shoveled tons of elephant poop over the course of her career. And I did it. I went back to the barn after every show because I was so in love with the elephants. Yeah. And that was the only way that I could spend time with them, is if I went back with the groomers and literally helped to clean the barn. Then I could say around the elephants all I wanted. And I would literally go back and help the elephant grooms and the animal grooms shovel the poop and wash the elephants down just so that I could be around them a little bit longer. And that's the truth. That is the truth. Goodness. So that would answer your question. I bet you never guess I've shoveled tons of elephant poop over the course of my life.
Nope. Couldn't tell. Not at all. You don't look like someone who shovels poop. Not at all.
Yeah, I did. And I would do it all over again because I just needed to be around them. They were just magical.
Oh gosh. Elephants are amazing. Amazing.
You have no idea. If you have ever had the chance to interact, it will change your life forever. Wow. Forever.
That's awesome. Is there a piece of advice that you feel people should know either prior to going into the industry or people who are currently working in the industry? What's something you might?
So I would have to say that starting from the beginning and kind of working your way through, first of all, keep your mouth shut and your ears open. So when you first start, you have nothing to say, but listen to everything and everyone around you. Just be quiet, because when our mouth is shut and our ears are open, that's when we're exposed to more information. And sometimes when we're first starting, other performers, they really don't want to take the time to work with us because frankly, they don't know for sure that we're going to make it. So we may not, in their mind, be really worth their counseling or their mentorship because we haven't earned it yet. So mouth shut, eyes and ears open, leave your ego at the door. Be willing to learn. Be willing to do whatever you need to do. If you need to help move props, if you need to dust the floor, if you need to sweep, do it. Do whatever you need to do, and do it with gratitude, and just notice, just learn by symbiosis. Just absorb as much osmosis, pardon me. Just absorb as much as you can. And then as you begin to get a little bit stronger, you're still going to need to leave your ego at the door, because once you do start to learn more, you're gonna want to start talking. And that's fine, but when you start talking, you stop listening. So continue to leave your ego at the door. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to be a doormat. So at some point, you do need to set boundaries and speak up for yourself, but you need to choose that moment wisely. So mouth shut, ears open, ego at the door for as long as you can, until the moment comes when you need to stand up for yourself. Because while those things are important, there comes a time when people will begin to test you. And they'll test you in many different ways. They might start to boss you around. They might start to talk down to you. And they do that to see if you're going to stand up for yourself. And you are your own best judge. Only you know when it's time to speak up. But at some point it will be time to speak up, but not right away. You need to earn it first. and make sure that when you do speak up for yourself, that you have past actions to pull up and say, you cannot speak to me like this because I've earned this, this, and this, or because I've been here for a year, I've been here for 2 years, or I've put in the work, I've put in the time, I have the scars, I have the, the slices on my heart and the slices to my body. I've put in the time now. Now it's time that I cannot have you speak to me that way, but I'm going to meet you halfway. So let me come up and I'm going to meet you. When that moment comes, you'll know.
Yeah.
But wait until you know it with everything in your heart, because otherwise you'll just get labeled as a diva, or you haven't paid your dues yet. Be ready to pay your dues. You got to pay them, and they hurt. You got to have a thick skin. You got to be willing to go home and cry it out and come back the next day. Try not to let them see you cry. I know, we all want to be emotional. We're all full of emotion. We want to express ourselves. If you think that you're about to break down, leave the room. Have your breakdown and come back. Go home, cry it out, sob all night long, do what you need to do, beat the floor, yell, scream, whatever you need to do to let it go, but come back professional the next day. So be mindful that people are always watching you. Someone is always watching you. So you're setting the tone for yourself from the moment that you walk in the room. So you have to decide who you want to be, but hold on to that thick skin, because it does get easier as time goes on and you get to be a better, stronger performer. It does get easier, but you are never going to connect with everyone. There's always going to be someone who you do not resonate with them, right, who you just don't move them. And that's okay. And you're going to have people that just never really like you as a performer. They just don't connect with you. And that isn't necessarily from you. It could just be from experiences that they have had. Don't take it personally. There have been tons of times when I've seen people just completely turn their back on me while I was performing. And at first it used to hurt me. I'm like, oh my gosh, how can you not be amazed by me? I'm up here all lit up. I'm brilliant. Why can you not, how could you possibly take your eyes off of me? Right. That's ego getting in the way. And you have to have a talk with yourself about that. And you have to realize not everyone is going to feel or pick up what you're putting down. And that's okay. You have to let that be okay. And you have to say it to yourself, say it out loud, say, it's okay. I'm not going to take it personally. I'm not for everyone. And that's okay. That's fine. And you have to honestly, authentically be okay with that. And that's things that just happen as you go along. But when you're first starting off, just be quiet. There's nothing that you need to say in the beginning. Smile, big smiles, big authentic smiles. Don't do the fake smile. People know it. Don't do anything fake. People see it a mile away. Big authentic smile if that is you. If you don't feel like smiling, then don't. But just be approachable, be open to learning. Learn as much as you can. And also accept the fact that you will never stop learning. We never want to stop learning. We've never learned it all. Nobody. I don't care how famous someone may get. No one ever knows it all. Mm-hmm. And the minute that we think we do, we've completely stopped our growth. There's no more growth because we've quit learning. There's always something we can learn, and we can always learn from everyone, even the newest person coming into the business. You can have an OG dancer or an OG singer that they're amazing, but that new person walking in the door just might have something that you can learn from. So always be ready and willing to hold on to your humility. Please stay humble. Please stay humble. That's one of the biggest things.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, we're in this new generation that we express ourselves a lot, and that's amazing. But when you're going into a workplace, you don't have the authority to pull anything, So I think that's incredible advice. It's exactly how you start out. You have to be humble. You have to know that you are not the expert here, and that you have to build your repertoire to get that information and to then be able to possibly teach a class of your own, or to own something of your own in this industry. And it's so true. And you can't ever stop learning. I mean, Angelica and I are still taking improv classes because we need to, oil our gears every once in a while.
Exactly.
Yeah. The second we became the teachers, we're like, okay, we need to still take classes. So we're not always in that mode of oh, I'm teaching. Give us that time to also play with new people and new personalities constantly. So
exactly.
100%.
And incorporate that training while always remaining true to yourself.
Mhm.
So always be you. Always be you. So if you see another performer who you think is doing better than you, I would advise you not to try to mimic them because you think that's going to make you better. You might pull some of their traits. You might see some things that they're doing that you're like, wow, it's really cool how she does this or how he does this. So you might incorporate that into your own personality, but never lose who you are. So you might pull influences from other people, other performances, and other shows and other aspects that will just make you a wider base personality. But at the end of the day, you still have to be you. So we never want to try to mimic somebody else. Be you. You can pull traits from somebody else that you admire and feed that into who you are, but you still have to represent yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we are sponges, but we are also snowflakes.
Exactly. So be individual, be unique, and be you, and celebrate who you are.
Yeah,
No matter what.
definitely. And my last question for you is there anything that you are working on or ways that people can keep up with you?
Okay, so of course everyone's all over social media. So as many of us did when the pandemic hit, I had to reinvent myself, as many of us did. So I decided that I wanted to start my own company again. I enjoyed having my own business. So I began a company called Your Best Self Health and Wellness. And the one thing that I love is that I've taken the time, much as I did when I was a dancer, to branch out and learn as many different modalities as I could. So when I was a dancer, I was doing belly dance, and I was doing hip hop, and I was doing jazz, and anything that I could do that moved my soul, tribal dance, anything that moved me, I did it. And I've done the same thing now that I've segued into health and fitness. So, I do personal training, I do aquatics fitness, I do yoga, health coaching, Reiki healing, Akashic records reading. So anything that moves you, chase it and then bring it in and make it part of who you are as an entity and as a person. So have as much to offer as you can. And it has been my goal to take everything that I've learned from performing, the way that performing made me feel, and then transfer that to my clients. How can I make them feel what I want them to feel? Whatever it is that they came to for me or to me for, I want them to get that feeling, because at the end of the day, that's what makes us humans. Like, we can lift weights all day long, and we can build sculpted bodies, and we can have the perfect yoga pose, or we can do the perfect aqua fitness workout. But we want to take it to the next step. And how do I get my participants to feel? How do I get them to just smile? How do I get their eyes to light up? So those are things that I've been incorporating in my health and wellness company. And I've discovered that people love options. People love options. So never limit yourself, because then you don't limit your audience, whoever that might be. So I never tag myself as a yoga teacher. I tag myself as a yoga teacher who also does personal training, health coaching, Reiki healing, aquatics fitness, Zumba, TRX, all those things I want to throw in there, because you never know when you might say the one thing where somebody's like, hey, I've always wanted to try TRX before. I didn't know you taught TRX. So, let yourself be everything, be all encompassing. So that's what I'm doing now is kind of taking everything that I learned and everything I developed as a performer and feeding it now into my health and holistic business. So, how can we be happier human beings? So a lot of times our immune system suffer because we're stressed out and we're anxious and fear. And we are surrounded by those things right now, y'all. I mean, we're surrounded by the media that just wants to keep us afraid. And that is the worst thing that we can experience for our immune systems and for our soul. So being able to find a place of peace, and whatever that means, whether it's in the water doing aqua fitness, or whether we're doing personal training, or whether it's TRX, or whether we're dancing in Zumba, whatever your jam is, we want to find a place where we can shed the negativity, shed the fear, shed the anxiety, shed the stress, because that's what will break us down faster than anything. So turn the news off, get outside, get some vitamin D in the air, go to an outdoor concert, go see improv, go laugh. Laughter is the best medicine. We're releasing dopamine, we're feeling good, we're boosting the immune system. So shut anything down that is external negativity and go combat that by laughing. Go laugh, go dance, go see a show, go do you, go be you. So that's the project I'm working on now, is being able to reach out and bring that notion to everyone about we do not have to be surrounded by negativity. We do not need to be divided. Music and love and laughter brings us all together. I don't care who you are, where you're from, how you grew up, what you believe in. Those things bring us all together. And when we join our spirits and our essence together collectively, we are very powerful. We are way more powerful than we can imagine. So that is my goal. That's my project, is reminding all of us what we already know, that we have the power within us to be anything that we want. And if we choose to be happy, we will. It's as simple as that. So that's what I hope. That's where I hope to move forward from here.
That's amazing. Yeah, definitely. I highly recommend all things Kimberly does, because I have taken a couple classes with Kimberly and they were honestly the best experiences ever. She got me back into holistic healing. So I have started doing a lot more and started getting interested in that side of my life again. And I have to tell you, it does make you happier, healthier, more focused. It's very life-changing to get back into the holistic side of healing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I want to say a huge thank you for you coming on here on Tacobout It Tuesday.
Thank you for having me. I'm so honored. I'm like, ooh, I'm honored. This is awesome.
This is amazing. I hope that you all have an amazing, wonderful, and glorious rest of your Tuesday, you beautiful creatures. If you are interested in taking any improv classes, you could go to www.thisisimprov.com and sign up for kids, teens, adults, corporate team building, or just improv for life. We also have our 501c3 called This Is Life Unscripted, where we help you find your voice in the community. If you like histories, mysteries, and ghost stories, we have a podcast called This Is Legends of Yesterday, where we talk about all of that and more about Florida. Yes, specifically Florida, because we're that weird. So you can listen to that on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We also have our ghost and historical tours of Davie, which are now live. So if you would like to take a tour with us, please show your interest and book yourself for one soon, mayhaps. Also, sign up for Kimberly's classes, and that's the last thing I'll say. Thank you, everybody. Thank you again, Kimberly, for joining me today.
Thank you, my love.
I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye.
Bye.